The time has arrived for us to begin our first meeting of the year. Would everybody please rise? Please bow your head for a moment of invocation. Thank you. And would you recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I will see if there is a conflict of interest disclosure from any of our board members. Harrison?
No.
Lou?
No.
Patty?
No.
Bill?
No.
Ken?
No.
Jerry?
No.
Dave? No. And Odessa, no. At this time, we will have election of our chair. At the organizational meeting of the Board of Supervisors in 2016, it was determined the selection of chairman and vice chairman would be by the method of rotation. Annually, at the first meeting in January of the Board of Supervisors, the board shall elect from its membership a chairman and a vice chairman, expiring on December 31st of the year elected, or until their respective successors shall be elected. In case of the absence of the chairman, the vice chairman shall preside at the meeting. In the absence of the chairman and vice chairman, the members shall choose one of its members as a temporary chairman. At this time, I would like to have nominations for chairman.
I'd like to nominate Lou Gillum.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to nominate Lou Gillum. Harrison?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Lou, back to you.
I
What would you
don't
say?
think I should vote for myself.
Oh, yeah, that couldn't hurt. And Odessa, definitely yes. Motion has been made and passed. Mr. Lou Gillum, come on over and take your seat
Oh, my
as
goodness.
chairman. Thank you so much. Allow me to get my materials out of the way.
Take your time.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Well, I guess
Go. 11.
first thing I'd like to thank Odessa for your fine job.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone will bear with me. This is my first time doing this, and I'm sure I'm gonna need all the help from the rest of the members. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. Next order of business would be election of the vice chair. We have a nomination.
I nominate Ms. Patty Cooper Jones
Yes.
as vice chairman.
The second, ma'am.
Have nomination second. Any discussion? Not, we'll call for the vote. Harrison?
Yes.
Odessa?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item 7, set days, times.
Congratulations, Patty.
Oh.
Thank you.
And we're ready to sit. Come on, man.
Thank you, sir.
I got all of them, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I told y'all I'd make a mistake right at the gate, didn't
But you're fine.
I? Item 7, setting day, time, and place for regular meetings. Comments from the board?
I'd like to make a motion we leave it on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock like we have in this building. Second.
We have a motion second. Any more discussion? We'll go for the vote. Bill?
Yeah, motion, yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Odessa?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next item, adoption of board bylaws. Any comments, motions?
Make a motion we adopt the said bylaws as written. Second.
We have a motion and second. Call for the vote again. Odessa?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Cam?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right, next thing is committee appointments. I think each one of you had a list given to you.
You've got one there, number 9, Mr. Chair. Selection of the operating system committees or committees as a whole.
Oh, all right, okay.
What'd you say? I make a motion that we do it as committees like we have standing in the past, status quo.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Harrison?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Ms. Dessa?
Yes.
Bill? Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Myself, yes. All right, committee appointments. Each were given a list. Any comments?
Move that we accept the committee appointments as written. Second.
We have a second. Roll call vote again. Harrison?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Odessa?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Item 11, adoption of board rules, procedure for public hearings.
So move.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Vote, Bill?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Odessa?
Yes.
And my vote, yes. All right, that's the adoption of board protocol and public participation, item 12. Motion?
Motion to approve as written.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Call for a vote. Harrison again.
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Odessa?
Yes.
Bill? Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item 13, adoption of protocol for Board of Supervisors comments.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Vote again. Bill?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Dessa?
Yes.
And my vote, yes. All right, moving right along here now. Recognitions. Crystal Baker, please.
No, you need Cheryl Stimson.
Come
Oh, my goodness. All right, that's fine, that's fine.
Turn off my. Good evening, board members. Congratulations to all of you that have moved to positions.
Thank you.
Recognitions is an opportunity for the Board of Supervisors to recognize achievements in our community with a focus on accomplishments of students, employees, and our citizen volunteers who serve the county of Prince Edward. And so we're recognizing our employee of the month, which is Amy Bryant. Would you like to come up, Amy? I'll read your citation. The board would like to recognize Amy Bryant as Employee of the Month for January. Amy is a team player who goes above and beyond to get things done. This tax season, she assisted the Commissioner of Revenue's office with assessing while also completing her assigned duties within the Treasurer's office. Amy is pleasantly helpful and an asset to Prince Edward County. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you, Amy. You get it, give me, Jamie, give me, we're gonna get.
See y'all in the, can't see us right. Thank you.
They see you, David? Oh, yeah.
You ready?
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Amy. Come on here, Miss Pride.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for your hard work. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Sarah, let me turn your brown so I can show her.
We had to take another photo.
How'd you guess?
What do you say, Bill?
She's not, but she turned it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Dr. Pryor.
Good job, good job.
I will say, I meant to, yeah, no, that's a minute ago, and told us I was gonna make a motion for the whole.
Looks good, second. It's beautiful.
Thank you for all your help.
Come on, no doubt.
Just a little bit to the other.
Right or left?
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Congratulations. Now,
Thank you for your service. Appreciate it very much.
Maybe you have, Carol, let's do a picture with both of them, yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
Congratulations.
congratulations. Thank you.
Lou, while you're coming back up, I would like to officially do something. I would like to shake the hands of every board member and thank them for serving with me. I really appreciate it.
Aw.
First of all, let me start with the two. Okay. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, no. It was so well deserved.
You passed that out pretty quick.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Bryant.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll move right along now to the public participation. Citizens wishing to address the board are asked to please sign in the public participation register prior to the beginning of the meeting. Do we have some names? All right, Bill Powers, please.
Members of the board, I'm Bill Powers, I'm elected director.
Bill, if you step over to the podium.
Probably here today. I'm Bill Powers, I'm elected director of Piedmont Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm a Prince Edward representative. Each of you have a packet of our brief annual report. With our year is fiscal year from July 21 to June 22. Our 2023 year began in July with another record of agriculture cost sharing. We help farmers with plant and cover crops, nutrient management, planting buffers, fencing livestock out of streams, and providing alternative water sources. We also continue to provide financial assistance to homeowners with failing septic systems and septic pump outs. Now, this is limited to residents within certain watersheds in Prince Edward County. We continue to operate a no-till drill rental program. We also provide natural resource education. We awarded 2 high education scholarships to Prince Edward County students this year. We also provide assistance to mainly junior or seniors in high school who wish to attend youth conservation camp at Virginia Tech. It's a wonderful program for a week. We pay for it all to qualified applicants. We're responsible for continued maintenance on 14 flood control structures in Prince Edward County, watershed lakes. This past fall, we completed some storm damage repairs from Hurricane Michael. And we're in the process of installing remote monitoring stations on 9 of these dams, which will remotely give us the water levels. We have a heavy rain or hurricane or something like that. Lastly, we appreciate the continued support of Prince Edward Board and staff in helping us complete our mission and improve water quality and soil health in Prince Edward County. And Doug, we appreciate you attending some of our meetings. You're all welcome to attend any of our meetings. Our meetings are generally the 4th Tuesday in every month. If you wish to attend, just contact Sarah. She'll text me or text Deanna, and you make sure you're there, and we also provide lunch. And if you're there, we'll keep the meeting as brief as possible. Any questions? No concerns? If not, thanks again.
Appreciate what you do.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else call in or anything? No. All right, next order is the Board of Supervisors comments. Harrison?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you for our 2 former board members and the service you provided our county. It's citizen involvement and input that's most important to us, and so we appreciate you all taking the time to come tonight and express your support and your concern for different issues that come up in the county. I think I can go ahead and say it for everybody. If y'all don't bring us issues, we don't necessarily know that they're there. So thank you for being active citizens. That's very important.
Patty?
I'd like to say welcome, Happy New Year. Good to see those smiling faces in spite of the cold temperature outside. We look forward to working with you and for this board working together and having a progressive new year. Thank you.
Ms. Pride?
Good evening. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming. And please be very, very careful. I was listening to the news before I came, and there is a new COVID variant. So please be very, very careful. Again, thank you for your attendance.
Bill?
Yeah, well, I got you tonight, I had a note from a citizen about a problem they had on Ridge Road, so if you don't let us know, we won't know what to do. So I was kind of surprised, I said, wow, somebody has a problem. So that's the way to do it, just let us know, then we discussed it, and I'm gonna get with him tomorrow. So, thank you. So if you got a problem, let us know.
Cannon?
I echo those sentiments of others. Thanks so much. A couple of times in my short period on the board, we've had some people voice some things, and I think they've been dealt with because of the participation by the public.
Jerry?
Echo what everyone else has said. Although I want to make a special announcement to Dr. Pride. Thank her for an excellent job done as chairwoman of the board for the year 22. And congratulations to Mr. Gillum. Look forward to working with you the year 2023. Thank you. You've done an excellent job.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And again, welcome you for the year 2023. Continue to support us, we as your board, your representatives, because we really, really care about Prince Edward County, each and every one of us. And if we won't know it if you don't tell us if you have a problem, okay? Or a challenge, don't necessarily have to be a problem, just challenges itself.
David?
Like Jerry, I'd like to say congratulations, Lou and Patty, for your upcoming, and thank you, Ms. Pride, for what you did in the past. To each and every one that's here, thank you for being here. I thank you. I'll tell you every single time, without you, we don't know exactly what's going on, so thanks for being here. Don't hesitate to let us know.
Glad to see everyone tonight, and things have shuffled around here a little bit, but we want to continue to try to do the best job we can to look after the residents of this county, the county itself, and please keep in contact with us if there is an issue at any time. Thank you again. All right, we'll move on to item 17, consent agenda. Any comments?
Move that we approve consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Call for the vote. Bill?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Odessa?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Yes.
Harrison? And my vote is yes also. All right. FY 22 audit next.
That's right.
See, who's going to be presenting that? Josh Roller. Mr. Roller?
All right, good evening.
Josh, Jerry and I say hello to you.
I knew you would. Happy to be here. So here tonight to present the fiscal year 2022 audit presentation of that. A few weeks ago, I met with the audit committee. We went through in detail of the audit report, as well as the management letter that's in the packet, as well as the governance letter. Tonight, I'll just go through the audit presentation that we have up on the screen. Point your attention to a couple of pages. Not going to dive too deep in the number, but happy to answer any questions or stop me at any point to kind of go over something if something kind of catches your eye. So, I guess it's okay. There we go. Okay. So, as part of the final audit packet, you'll have the governance letter, the 3-page letter in there, which is standard communication. In that letter, it kind of details out the responsibilities of management and the responsibility of the auditor. Obviously, the much bigger document there is the audit report for the year. And part of that is, the auditor's opinions, the reports, the financial statements, which are made up of the MD&A, which is your management discussion analysis, your government-wide financial statements, which include your long-term assets, long-term liabilities. Usually the more useful set of financials are the funds financial statements. Those operate on modified accruals, so those are more your budgetary schedules. After you get through the fund statements and the footnotes, then you get to the statistical section. This is made up of usually 10 years worth of information to kind of give you more of a trend analysis and historical data. And then the last part of the report is the compliance section, which there are a couple letters for that. First, we're not going to pretend like we can read that, so we'll just go to the highlights of the governance letter. So like I said, the management has certain responsibilities related to the audit, as well as the auditor has certain responsibilities. Management has the responsibility of accepting the financial statements, implementing internal controls, maintaining those internal controls. The auditor side, we test those internal controls, we test the account balances, we sample numerous transactions. I'll get into that exact number that we hit for this year. And then after all of that, the result of that is 3 different opinion letters that we give. Our independent auditors report, our internal control auditors report, and then also the compliance independent auditors report, which is over uniform guidance, which is your federal compliance piece. So the next part of the governance letter talks about new accounting standards adopted. There was one this year. It was GASB 87 related to leases. The impact that had on Prince Edward County was that long-term leases that used to just be, your rent income every year, however much you received, that was received as revenue. This new GASB now makes it so that full contract has to be recorded on your balance sheet as a lease receivable. And once we get, as you can see on Exhibit 3, you'll see it as a current asset, I believe around $1.5 million of a lease receivable. There's an offsetting deferred inflow kind of for the same amount, but those do have to be recorded on the balance sheet to kind of disclose the full value of that. All right. So, still on the letter, one of the things required in that letter is to disclose that we had no difficulties dealing with management as part of the audit. All of our requests were fulfilled. Everything we asked for, there was no argument. There was, no trying to hide anything. It was all kind of given to us as usual, kind of there. Kind of on the same page, there are no disagreements with management on how anything was to be recorded, how anything was to be disclosed. And lastly, the management consultant with other auditors, there were no consultation with other auditors needed. That's just something that has to be disclosed. If there were other auditors involved, that was not the case. So, okay, now getting into the actual audit report itself. The audit report is made up of 3 sections, broken out between your financial section, the statistical section, and then your compliance section. This next page is the snippet of the going to be page 1 through 3 of your audit report. This is our independent auditors report where we have issued an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. It's the best opinion that we can issue, which is basically saying we believe the financial statements to be materially correct for the year. So to get to that opinion, we have to cover various different parts throughout the county. Kind of the main parts that we cover are county administration, finance, the treasurer's office, the school board, and social services. Kind of as part of we're here for 1 week in the summer, 1 week in the fall. We're doing various compliance testing, control testing, account balance, kind of within those 4 major parts of the county. So as part of our, at the very bottom of this sheet, you'll see our kind of totaling up our total number of transactions tested. It came out to be 368 expenditure transactions this year. That's looking at various compliance parts, any what's considered to be significant, materially significant transactions. We look at all of those, and then we always just do kind of a random sample as well. And kind of the summary of all those together got to 368 transactions we looked at this year. The next two pages are the very summarized highlights of your governmental fund statements, which is Exhibit 3, Exhibit 5. Your total, Exhibit 3, which is your balance sheet, your total ending fund balance for all governmental funds at the end of the year was $26,339,157. Of that total, the general fund balance was made up of $18 million, and of that $26 million, the total unassigned fund balance was $17.4. And Exhibit 5, this is your statement of revenues, expenses, and change in fund balance for the year, again, for the governmental funds. The total fund balance for all governmental funds this year increased by $5.1 million. Of that $5.1 million, the general fund balance actually decreased by $32,000. That is after there was a $5.5 million transfer out of that fund. The bulk of that was to set up a new special projects fund. So, you know, that $32,000 decrease is a little misleading because there was, I believe, $4.4 million transferred to set up this new fund. The next couple pages are a couple of graphs kind of showing a couple 5-year analysis. This one here shows, this is your total fund balance for all governmental funds over the last 5 years. The blue category there is your unassigned fund balance. The purple is your committed or assigned. As you can see, the total fund balance increased. That increase in purple is that new special projects fund, and then the decrease in the blue is coming from that general fund. So, skipping forward, the total general fund revenue is always kind of a good indicator to kind of watch, and you can see over the last 5 years, pretty steady increase, going from 26.4 5 years ago up to 30.6 for this year. And the statistical section that I referenced before, in the actual audit report, this is pages 133 through 154. A couple of things here. There's a couple of little outliers I'll point out to kind of show you where this one here, you can see the little blip in the prior year with that bottom line. That's related to federal revenues, which in 2021 increased because of CARES Act and the COVID money that came in. And on a very similar blip on the expenditure side, that the green kind of triangle there in last year, that was the spending of that CARES Act fund that kind of went through the general government function. Your real property assessments related to outstanding debt, as you can see, stays right around that 1% over the last 5 years, which is no cause for concern whatsoever. The state has certain requirements for cities. It doesn't apply to counties, but they have compliance tests that this number should be under 10%. Going by that same logic, you're at 1% there. So. And on to then the compliance section. So there's 2 separate reports here like I referenced before. The first has to do with our internal control testing over financial reporting. As a result of that, we had no issues that came to the level of either significant deficiency or material weakness that need to be disclosed. So kind of a clean report there. The second of those 2 reports is that independent auditor's report over uniform guidance, which is federal compliance, and we had no issues of non-compliance to report there as well. We did have 1 issue of state compliance that was noted. The very last page of the report, or second to last page. Again, this was discussed in pretty the detail in the audit committee. I'm happy to go into it further if you want. But, so from there, I'd be happy to answer any questions or clarify anything.
No questions. We thank you so much for all your work, your presentation.
Yep, thank you all for having me.
Good deal.
Mr. Chair, also Mr. Chair, I know, in previous chairman, the last couple of years, we've had some issues getting all this stuff together. I really want to thank both our county staff, our pre-op, who was able to come in and get to work together, and also RFC. Josh, I'd put you on the spot as far as where we're at, where our treasurer's office staff, where everybody's at. Have you seen significant improvement over the last couple of years?
Just in going from the 21 audit to the 22 audit, there was a tremendous improvement. Usually a good way to kind of judge actual improvement is number of audit adjustments that we have to make to get the books in order. And I don't have that in front of me, but the number of adjustments was significantly lower this year. And most of the ones, if not all the ones we had this year, were immaterial, that really didn't need to be made. But so, yeah, very significant improvement on all levels there on the staff.
Very good.
Still waiting on that rebate on it with Jerry.
What do you, oh,
Waiting on that rebate.
That's the inside.
I'd like to have a little clarification on that, please.
Jerry and I have given Josh a hard time for about 4 years now.
We're still working on it.
Good enough.
It's dwindling down.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, there's a recommended motion that's in your packet to approve and accept the fiscal year FY 21-22 audit as presented.
So moved.
Yes, second that.
All right, we have a motion been seconded. Mr. Duspride,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
All right, been approved. I'd like to reiterate thanks to the staff, Mr. Ola.
Thank you all.
A lot to
Thanks for having
consider right there on a regular basis. Appreciate y'all's hard work.
Thank you all.
me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
David, see me after the meeting, please.
Send Josh a bill.
Let's see here, item 19, community partners update. Dr. Moore?
Good evening, thank you.
Evening.
I have my Director of Emergency Services, Rian Thorne, here. If you have any questions as relates to emergency services, he can answer that. I am going to be very brief. Rian is providing you with a couple of handouts that we're going to, and I'm going to go over just briefly some of the items I've worked on since I've been here last. We have put out an RFP for a new HR payroll system. We've also have looked at merchant services. We are now able to accept credit cards. We have an RFP out on our website that's going to be out for 30 days for therapists, psychiatrists, telepsychiatry, auditor, and for insurance, because in May, we'll need to be looking at new health plans for our employees. We have sold our scrap in our old vehicles that were scrap metal that we couldn't even move them. And we netted about $9,000 for those vehicles. We have now begun to sell on gov.deals the employees, the vehicles. We had about 130 vehicles. We're gonna take them down to about 60 vehicles that we actually need to have for our case manager employees to use. So we're selling those on gov.deals. We've had 3 inspections, HUD inspections, Evergreen passed with a score of 96. Timberlake 2 passed with a score of 92. Timberlake 1 went from a score of 34 to 66. And we had those all in October and November. Right now, the executive team and leadership team are going through the budget planning process, and how I see that, that's never occurred before. So we want to engage those 2 leadership teams in really putting together a budget of what we're going to be working on. And it will be prioritized according to what's mandatory do we need to be working on, the need, the community need, and then the want. What do we really want to do, and aligning that with the funding that we receive from the state, and then looking at grant opportunities, and we'll be working with the council on looking at grant opportunities, and then working with our partners. When I came here before, I talked about, I think I provided a report on patients that we see. And just briefly, what I went back and looked at, I wasn't really pleased with that. So what we're going to be providing all of our localities with is a report, a monthly report. We want to get caught up on it, but I wanted to go back from July of 2021 to June 30th, 2022. We went back through all the localities, and I wanted to look at the number of visits, the percentage of the total number, average of totals, the average number of clients that we saw that came through our facilities. And for Prince Edward, I'll just look at that. Prince Edward, we saw average number of visits, 34,453. Average percent of totals was about 31.030%. Average number of clients, 847. So you have that you can take a look at. And we wanted to see that because we feel it's important that you see, what are you averaging? What are we averaging in clients that we see that come from each locality? And the number of clients that we're seeing that are coming through. So you'll be receiving this report on a monthly basis. We want to catch up, and my finance director has assured me that we'll be able to get you that information. I know that there was a request that came through email wanting to know more about emergency services. So Ren, if you could please come up. And we want to talk briefly about emergency services, not to spend too much time and belabor this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moore.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not known for being brief, but I'll do my best today. So what I want to start with, the biggest concern that a lot of people have expressed is people being left in the emergency room for extended periods of time, law enforcement agencies having to take care of or supervise, keep them in custody for extended periods of time, which is what I want to address today. Now, what I've handed out is the codes for the emergency custody order and the temporary detention order. If I can get this to switch. There we go, but that's the wrong page. There we go. Shoot. There we go. That's what I'm trying to get to. We follow under the Code of Virginia. This is given you, and this is part of what I've handed out to you, the links so that you can see the codes specific to the emergency services in Virginia. I also attached some links to some media articles that you may want to look at. But if I answer the question of the difficulties with law enforcement having to spend so much time and the hospital being, people, the emergency room being filled up with people with mental health issues. It's the demand for mental health beds in Virginia outweighs the availability of beds and staff who can monitor those clients in this state. And we're not the only one. This is a problem across the nation. I've seen many articles that talking about very similar things to the problems we're having in Virginia. So the emergency services requirements, this is part of that code, is to evaluate individuals who are in a mental health or substance use crisis and determine the least restrictive environment that we can place that person, so to keep the person safe and to keep the community safe. Now, that can go anywhere from, got it this time. So the individual will come into Crossroads, if you can follow this thing I've got up here, this diagram. The individual comes into Crossroads, they can come in either voluntarily during business hours, or they most are brought in under an emergency custody order. That means that the law enforcement agency has picked the person up, they've got 8 hours to get them to us and for us to evaluate them, then send them, if we determine they need to be hospitalized, send them to the emergency room for medical clearance, and then find a bed, preferably a private bed. But in the absence of a private bed, the state hospitals are required to accept individuals that we determine need to be placed under either a temporary detention order or a voluntary placement into a hospital. Now, once we do the pre-screen, if you look at this, we can, probably about 50% of the people we see, we are able to figure out some sort of a safety plan so that the individual can be released into the community and not have to go anywhere. The second option, or just moving up more restrictive, is the Crisis Stabilization Unit. This is a program in Richmond, and it covers the surrounding areas of our region. And it's sort of an in-between. It's not releasing them to the community, but it's a place for them to go, to see a doctor, to see therapists, to have all that sort of stuff taken care of. That is done on a voluntary basis only at this time. So for those two options, there's no medical clearance required. So with very rare exceptions, they are not going to have to tie up the emergency room. They are also not going to tie up a law enforcement agency, at least not past the 8-hour time period of the emergency custody order. The other half is either voluntary hospitalization or involuntary hospitalization. And in that case, the person is under what is called a temporary detention order, or a TDO. The TDO lasts for 72 hours. And during that time period, the way it's supposed to work is that that individual will be placed into either a private or state hospital. They'll be evaluated further and then determined if they need to remain in a hospital committed or not. They can be released. The reality of what is happening in many cases is that the individuals are in the emergency rooms for 72 hours or more. Excuse me. So what our job is when we go, so we will evaluate them. We determine that they need to go to the hospital. They agree, and they go on their own. That's assuming they have the capacity to. Or we tell the individual, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go. And it's with the temporary detention orders, then they are under law enforcement custody. It's civil commitment, not criminal commitment, but they are civilly committed. They go to the emergency room supposed to be for medical clearance. What happens, though, is very often the medical clearance is done and we haven't been able to, we start searching for a bed. We call them bed searches, but it's basically we're calling the private hospitals around the area. We have 17 hospitals that we call and say, do you have a bed for Mr. So-and-so? And we send Mr. So-and-so our pre-admission screening that we've done, as well as the medical clearance. And then they determine whether or not they can accept that person or not. If they deny them, we note the reason for the denial, and we pass that forward to the hospital. Very often the reason for denial is that they just don't have room at the time. So that's important. I'll come back to that in just a minute. So if the individual, we find a private hospital bed, they're accepted, then we contact the law enforcement agency, tell them, we give them the paperwork so that that is all approved by a magistrate, so that they can carry the individual to a private hospital bed. When that works well, it's about 8 to 12 hours that the individual is in the hospital. If they are denied by all hospitals, then the state hospital is considered the facility of last resort, meaning that they have to accept them. They don't have the option. Dr. Moore? Oh. So what the state hospital has done, and it's been over about the last couple of years, is they accept them but place them on a waiting list because they don't have enough beds to be able to put the people in. And so instead of being accepted and going to the hospital, they're accepted and they're still waiting in the emergency room till the name comes up for this waiting list. Now, during this time, they remain in the ER up to the 72 hours, and if it expires over the weekends or a holiday, that time can be extended. We're going to continue the bed search for any hospital that denied based on capacity. So if Poplar Springs, for example, on Sunday night, we do a bed search and they say, well, we can't take anybody right now because we're full, they may not be full Monday morning. So we do a second bed search to any agency that the reason for the denial was they didn't have an available bed. And sometimes we get lucky and find that one of the private beds, and we're able to send the individual to a private agency. If not, then we just have to wait till a bed becomes available. Now, I spend a good bit of my time talking to the hospitals in the area, the state hospitals, which Central State is our assigned hospital, but the way this has worked, sometimes we send them as far away as southwestern Virginia. But any of the state hospitals in the area can accept them. And I'm pushing to get them, I and my staff are pushing them to accept the person if there are medical reasons, if there are, if the individual is aggressive, where I can make an argument, this person needs to be moved up, this person needs to be moved up on the list, then they do sometimes do that. But it still takes a long period of time. And this is the way the system is right now. Unfortunately, we have no power to push this any further. To the degree we do, we do. Other things that can complement this, one is COVID. If a person tests positive for COVID, they're not going to be accepted to any of the private hospitals, and they have to have 10 days from the time of the first test till before they can be accepted to a state hospital. So that's a major issue for us. Then other times, people with developmental delays who may have mental health problems too, they are exclusionary for a lot of the private hospitals. So unfortunately, very often they wind up in the state hospital. The other thing is dementia. If an individual has not had mental health issues throughout his or her life, but they're getting up in age and they start to lose their faculties and very often become paranoid. Everybody's trying to poison me, I'm not going to eat. All the things that you would see with somebody with schizophrenia. But the hospitals, it's not the same treatment for them. So hospitals turn them down very often. And inappropriately, I believe, wind up in the state hospital. The state hospital should be for people who have chronic mental illness, not somebody who's depressed and feeling suicidal, not somebody who has a developmental delay and doesn't understand some of the things they're doing, and not somebody who is elderly and no longer able to take care of themselves. But that is what happens. So that's it in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions?
I will reiterate, a friend of mine works for Central in Lynchburg.
Mm-hmm.
The complete staff was notified that they'll all be working an extra day a week now for further notice because they can't get enough employees to staff the hospital.
Right.
It's terrible everywhere.
Right. Staff, beds are short, but it's the staffing that is the biggest issue. And that's part of what COVID did. We are 3 short now, 3 out of 6, so that they're going to be working extra too, and I am too.
We thank you.
So, thank you.
Job well done.
I apologize for taking longer.
No,
All right.
Thank you.
time well spent.
Good, thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you all for coming in and talking to us. That we, as you very well know, in the past, we've had all kinds of trouble getting information, whatever else. Thanks for being forthcoming and coming here and telling us kind of what's going on, and for the vehicles and everything else, cleaning it all up and getting the money for it because they've sat there a long time. Thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can add, 2 years ago when I started with the county, I want to say probably, 15, 20% of my time was spent dealing with crossroads complaints, crossroads issues, concerns, and I haven't had a single call in 6 months. But things seem to be
I'd like to comment on the TDOs because I'm at the jail and it directly affects me. I had 2 TDOs about a month ago, wound up at the hospital, the officer stayed there, about 2 officers, about 6 hours each. And the offender wound up coming back to the jail because they didn't have bed space. So we had to do direct supervision on that guy, those offenders for about almost 48 hours, with the officer sitting there directly watching them every minute. It can become stressful, labor intensive, and costly. So I can respect you've done an excellent job with the process, and you did an excellent job doing. Just wanted to make that noted. And mental health beds are a priority for the governor, I think. It's one of his top priorities. So we've been discussing that with our barge meeting with the association, so.
What is the article,
And I know the sheriff can respect that too.
what is the articles with the linkage on the paperwork that I gave you? Does talk about the governor's plan
Yeah, yeah,
in his budget.
Yeah.
He's willing, it's a legislative letter, but it's not where it's not.
it's a serious issue,
It is,
very serious. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you all again. Any more comments, board member? We'll move on to item 20, constitutional officer report. Sheriff Epps.
Sheriff is going to punt until next month, Mr. Chair.
All right. Highway matters. Sarah?
I'm not Scott Frederick.
No. I see that.
But I'd be happy to record any highway maintenance issues that any board member may have and happy to share them.
If I can, I did talk to Scott today. One, Supervisor Emmert, he wanted me to let you know that Spring Creek, they are putting signs up where the trailers are hitting the bridge, so I hope you're going to address that. And I know I previously reported that Sarah had been on top of the Herzig Road Bridge, State Corporation Commission, and Norfolk Southern. I believe that's been repaired and satisfactory, at least for now.
Yeah, it has.
Good, good. Back Hampton Sydney Road, the stop sign is leaning a little to the right, and I see where somebody went right through the intersection and knocked a two-way sign down again.
Is that it, Backham City and Five Forks?
Five Forks, yes. Maybe.
Sarah, I see they were out patching Oliver Road today, but it's still, with that heavy traffic use, it's coming all to pieces.
That wet cold spell cracks.
Cracks it up.
A lot of them are coming
I
apart.
spoke with Scott like yesterday on a couple of issues. Trees that fell from the storm, the recent windstorm that near the ditch line, fire came out and removed them from the road. So VDOT need to come out and get the trees out of the ditch line. And
Was there a particular road? that you-
yeah, both 633, 634. It's like 3 trees. 2 on New Bethel, and 1 on Verso. Scott aware of it, but just a reminder in case he forgets. And the road sign at Dempsey Road, the state sign down.
The route number sign?
7, yeah. Now, I saw VDOT at that this morning, but they weren't, I don't know if they took care of it or not. They may have.
And then the right, where the physical church road comes into 460, it's a big hole right there. Where you turn on 460 to come on physical church. Right there for the trucking company, it's a big hole right there. Been there for a while.
Bill, that right side going east on 460 stays full of water all the time. They need to clean that ditch line out where the water can drain
You go
on out.
by- I mean, you go about 600, that little bottom right there, we had still one wrecks right there.
Right there at the,
Before you get to the underpass. You know,
Okay.
The bottom right there, the water comes across the road and, hell, well, not too long ago, 2 of them hit together, they're hydroplane on the water.
there's been a ditch problem there.
Been there for a long time.
On the
Yeah.
south, on the right side.
Yeah, that's right. Been there for a
Yes.
long
Is it-
time.
and is that
They
where all
keep-
the-
They go there, they look at it, they walk off, they leave, they don't come back.
Okay.
And over there, a little bit further down 460, it'd be in the westbound lane, about an eighth of a mile from 602 Hubbard Road. They put a directional sign right in front of Chris Chapman's house, and 4 barrels right in front of his house. They could move them maybe 20 feet, it wouldn't be in front of his house. I think it's kind of, wow.
Is it one of the message boards,
Right
message
there
boards?
against his yard. And they
Okay.
could move it just a little bit, and it wouldn't be visible from his front window.
Okay.
And it's for them buyers, they could move just a little bit, it'd be a whole lot nicer for him, I know it would be. It looks kind of trashy there.
I know that standing water on 460's been there for at
Yeah,
least a
yeah,
year,
yeah,
because
long
I've,
time,
yeah.
Long history of that. But that
Okay.
directional sign, that's kind of like,
That's their continuing effort to try and figure out what to do.
yeah, but, like 15 minutes, they could move it.
Right.
It wouldn't take a whole project, just
Just
move
slide
it
it.
away.
Okay,
So you'll look at the front window and see it all the time.
yes, sir.
And, but the rest of the roads, all the pieces, but you can't fix them all at one time. But those need to get fixed up a little bit.
Okay.
And who do you see will get the, speed reduced? Through Rice, through the village? It's 35. Some citizens want it 25. So how do I go about getting the speed limit reduced in Rice?
Does that require, Doug, do you recall, does that require actually affirmative action of the board or just a request?
I think a request, and I know, they've got to go through, they've got funding, they can do speed studies, Supervisor Jenkins, and generally they can handle several a year. So I think the first question would be, when was the last time they looked at it?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
has
Get somebody
been
to look
the
at
last
it,
few
do a
years.
study on it or something, 'cause
Okay.
it's
What's-
35.
What's that route number?
Rice Depot Road, 600.
600.
It's called Rice Depot Road.
Okay.
And I think everybody agreed to slow it down to 25, I'd imagine. It's 35 now. And they got your vehicles and trailers going across there and everything.
Okay.
So we could slow it down a little bit to come through the village. Would help. A lot of people say, hey, it's too fast.
We'll find out from
Okay. Thank you,
Scott what is required.
Okay, that's what I need to know, what we got to do.
So Sarah, it wouldn't be something as serious as the study with Abilene Road. It took for years for it to be reduced to 50. I mean, only 5 miles an hour. Even with the conditions going on there.
Dr.
And they
Pratt,
only reduced to
I'm
5.
gonna make no, I'm not gonna, yeah, I'm,
No comment.
I don't know, yes, no comment.
Okay.
I'm,
Big adjustment. Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
And this one here is on Ridge Road, Old Ridge Road. This gentleman, he'd like to see it, maybe have yellow lines put on it. So you can see what you do in the nighttime. Let's see what that's there.
There are minimum requirements, pavement width, and I
Yeah, I know
think,
that, but he didn't- I need an answer so I can give that fellow. So just tell whoever to tell him, give me a call and I can
Okay.
take the message.
I'll make a copy of this
Yes,
real
sir.
quick.
Thank you, man.
I went through that already. It's like 18 feet from center.
And is there also I think there's a vehicle, maybe a vehicle count?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just need to
2 or 3
know
things that
so
go
we
into
can
that.
Go along with it.
Yeah.
I think that's why I got that out of it.
Okay.
Any more? All right, we'll move along, sir. While you're there, the event permit
Yes, sir.
application?
On page 130 and 131, you have an application for an event permit from the United Eastern Virginia Coon Hunters Association to hold the Virginia State Coonhound Championship on March the 17th and 18th at the 5-county fairgrounds. The estimated number of people attending is 90. They've got no lighting and no music, and as you can see, everything will be contained within the fair, the parking and everything. So,
Isn't that an annual event?
I believe that this is the
I'm almost
first
positive it is.
time, I think this is the first time
First
here.
time.
There's been other dog shows, but
There's been some
I think I
others.
heard someone say this had been in Halifax in years past.
Halifax? That's the-
So this would be, I'm gonna say, a new event for Prince Edward.
That's the coon hunt, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty nominal number of people, especially for a program
I
at the
remember years
fairgrounds.
ago, my father-in-law and Dr. Pryor, husband, all them guys used to go to that coon hunt. And I always thought it was pretty good. I move that we approve.
Second.
Yeah, motion been second. David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
And I agree. All right. Let's see, we've got appointments now, Sarah.
Yes, sir. On page 133, there are a list of appointments that the board will wish to consider making. These are to fill positions that are held by members of the Board of Supervisors. And I'm happy to answer any questions. The Granite Falls and the Virginia's Heartland Water and Sewer Authority are the two other bodies that the 8 members of the Board of Supervisors are actually seated on. So those positions run contemporaneously with your board seat, but they do actually require an appointment and action by the board.
Jerry, do you and Cannon, are you all, I see you're eligible for reappointment, would you serve again?
No, I'm good.
Perspective?
Sure. Unless somebody else is ready to do it.
In that case, I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the slate as presented.
A second.
The only thing is Crossroads, if that's vacant, I guess if
Do
someone
we
wanted
need
to
to
serve.
nominate somebody from Crossroads?
Yes, yes.
Appoint someone to
Yes, sir.
Crossroads.
Yes,
I would
sir.
like to appoint Harrison for Crossroads.
I'll second that.
All right, I think we have a motion writing in Harrison at Crossroads. We'll vote on all of it at one time.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Harrison?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Dustin?
Yes.
Bill?
Yep.
Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Motion carried.
Good luck.
Let me just put that there. We're not throwing you in the fire, we got thrown in.
And Mr. Townsend, don't say it.
No, I don't.
Crossroads has an excellent executive director.
Absolutely.
You can see their presentation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll continue on, Sarah, the citizen volunteer position.
Yes, sir. We received an email on page 136 from Justine Young, the Chief Executive Officer of Piedmont Senior Resources, requesting the reappointment of Dr. Pirohit to the Piedmont Senior Resources Board. His term expires on January the 5th. And the board has the option of either choosing to make the appointment tonight, or we can advertise the position, hoping that he will be willing to continue to serve, and then perhaps appoint him next month. It's up to the board. I know that Justine indicated in the telephone conversation that I had with her that it is very hard, difficult to find physicians who are willing to serve, so that she does hope that the board would continue to wish to appoint him to her board.
So move for the appointment.
Second.
All right. Got a motion been second. We'll do a vote. David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Yes.
Patty Cooper?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
And my vote, yes. All right, Sarah, the AFID grant for the cannery.
Yes, sir. As the board is aware, as outlined on page 137, the county has been awarded a second APHID grant, Agriculture and Forestry Industries Development Grant, through the Virginia Department of Agriculture. We received the one for $25,000 last year to help offset the cost of the replacement of the boiler at the cannery. This year, we have been awarded a $50,000 grant through the same program that will help us with some additional capital projects and equipment to include the replacement of deteriorating steam pipes, traps, valves, and gauges, the replacement of the half-ton chain hoist, replacement of pressure temperature recorders, steam pot stems, and the replacement of the blades on the RoboCoupe for a total estimated cost of $89,000. We're still awaiting the final documents, but as the board's aware, the cannery season starts in June, so we always have a little bit of urgency of getting projects completed so that we can get the cannery open for the season. So tonight, what we're asking the board to consider is to go ahead and approve the acceptance of the APHID grant of the $50,000, authorize the county administrator to execute the documents when we receive them, which could probably be tomorrow or any day. They've told us that they're forthcoming. And then that will enable our staff, Randy and Patty, to go ahead and start pricing the equipment, the biggest one being the steam pipes. And then we would come back to the board at the February meeting with a grant, a more specific grant budget with better cost estimates, and at that point, ask you to make the appropriations and commit the matching funds.
I'll move to the board, accept the APHID and the staff has the wherewithal and authority to do this.
Second.
All right, we have a motion seconded. David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Harrison? And myself, yes.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yes.
Emergency management update, Mr. Trey Powell, please.
Good evening, Board.
Evening.
I just want to take a few moments to brief y'all on the events that happened the weekend of Christmas. When the cold weather front come through, we had the winds, knock those trees down over there. You're talking about, Jerry. So basically, this is the 23rd through the 25th. So on the 23rd, we started getting notices of power outages in the county as early as around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. That's kind of when the wind started kicking up a little bit. The ground was already saturated. Myself, Doug, and Sarah started communicating pretty quickly about the need for the citizens to have somewhere to go to stay warm if necessary. At 9 a.m., we sent an Everbridge alert out to all the citizens in the county. We also used social media to push out that we were opening a warming center. We had already pre-planned this with the town of Farmville to use the sports arena for this event. They stood up with us. The power was actually out there, so they provided the generator hookup. They got everything running for us. We opened that center from 12 to 5. The DSS staffed that. They brought in a total of 7 personnel throughout the day, no less than 2 there at any given time. We also had several churches and some of the fire departments in the area that kind of opened their doors to citizens that may needed something to warm up, take a shower, cook some food, necessities basically throughout the day. We did have 1 citizen show up that day at the warming center, and the Farmer United Methodist Church came by and offered blankets and snacks for anybody that did show up. That evening, decision was made around 3:30 to send another alert out to the citizens that if they needed assistance moving forward through the weekend, contact one of the 2 dispatch centers in the county. They in turn would contact DSS on call to try to arrange to meet the needs of those citizens. There was about 8 or 9 phone calls received between that evening and the next morning by DSS, in which 5 citizens were assisted and other ones never got back in touch with the on-call caseworker. The 5 citizens that were assisted were actually assisted by going to Calvary Tabernacle Church in Rice. They had opened their doors up, so DSS partnered with them. They were already staffed. They already had the facility running. They made arrangements, and those citizens got assistance there. So overall, for those 2 days, it worked out very well. We have some lessons learned from that, some stuff that emergency management and DSS together are going to work on in the future to try to better prepare. But I will say that I think it was a smooth transaction. I think everything went as planned. The emergency management shelter trailer got deployed for the first time that day. We were ready to house people if we needed to. Overall, that system worked out very well. See, DSS definitely took care of everything they needed to do there. Something I would like to point out on a separate note for that same weekend, as y'all are well aware, the temperatures dropped well below freezing. They stayed well below freezing for multiple days. This again was Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. That weekend, the volunteer firefighters in the county really stood up for the citizens. There was a total of 60 calls for service in those 3 days, which is abnormally high. Now, some of these were EMS calls, but alone on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, there was 20 calls for service, ranging from tree downs, vehicle fires, fire alarms, which actually turned into busted sprinkler pipes, which flooded buildings and had people evacuated from their homes, buildings condemned, process of being cleaned up, and including structure fires. These calls won't know 10, 15-minute calls. At one point in time on Christmas Day, there was 6 Prince Edward County Fire Departments operating inside of the county at any given time, working together to handle these, because they were coming in times of 1, 2, 3 calls at a time. So I just want to let y'all know what the volunteers did during that time frame, because I think that means a lot to say that they gave up their Christmas Eve and their Christmas Day with their family to be here serving the citizens of the county. So, and as far as the power goes, power was restored about 98% on Christmas Eve and 100% on Christmas morning. So, y'all have any questions?
Good report.
All right, thank you.
Job well done to all the departments and everybody that opened the doors. Very nice, very nice. All right, Doug, Sandy River Reservoir Consultant Service Agreement.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, as part of the PPA process, the county has brought legal, financial, engineering experts under contract to help us with the review of the application and potentially development of the contract. This time, we requested that Panoni, who's our engineering consultant, provide a proposal for an engineering review and negotiation of the comprehensive proposal, 15% design for the final package from Prince Edward County Infrastructure LLC. The proposal would provide professional engineering and other consulting in the complete review of the 593-page document that was submitted. The proposed fee for this phase of work is $33,000. They've estimated it would take approximately 21 days to complete the review. Panoni's done a great job with the review of the preliminary plans and recommendations to the county. In our discussions and negotiations in the past on review projects, including reviewing the subject receiving facility design from me. In this case, they have, again, no connection with the project or Timmons or the contractor. For professional services such as engineering, competition for contracts between $20,000 and $1 and $50,000, whenever feasible, competition will be utilized, but the board may waive or establish alternate procedures for the acquisition of services. Given that Panoni has been involved in the preliminary review of the project, that is not cost effective, and would recommend the board waive solicitation of other proposals. As part of the PPA submittal, Prince Edward County Infrastructure LLC submitted a check in the amount of $50,000 to offset review costs. Other preliminary submittal to the county, we currently have approximately $25,950 still remaining to help the county cover a portion of the cost of the legal, financial, engineering evaluations. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or thoughts pertaining to this?
Move that the board approve the authorized county administrator to sign the contract with Panoni for engineering services as outlined.
Second.
We have a motion seconded. Patty?
Yes.
Dr. Fry?
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah.
Karen?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Carried. All right, item 27, General Service Director position description. Doug?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, back on April 13, 2021, County staff came to the board to request an upgrade to the building and ground supervisor position from a grade 10 to a grade 20, as well as to make the position exempt based on the duties he was assigned. Tonight, staff come before you with a request to change the job description from buildings and grounds supervisor to a general services director, putting the position more in line with the specific duties Mr. Cook currently accomplishes. This time, staff are not requesting an increase in pay, as we believe the duties of the new position are in line with its current grade. If that'd be happy to answer any questions.
So we're just changing the name title?
Just the title.
Yeah.
It's, I think, elevating the, yeah.
So moved.
I second that.
I have a motion, second it. Patty Cooper,
Yes.
Dr. Pride,
Yes.
Bill,
Yep.
Cameron,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
My vote is yes.
Just a question though.
Yes, sir.
How many individuals he supervised? 8?
8 or 9?
His pay band, is his pay, he going to a different pay band? Or is he still in the same?
He's the same.
Same grade. Same
We,
grade.
we already bumped that up. I think it's more the title. I think
It's just a-
supervisor is almost like a, kind of like it was before when, Ron was here as a middle management position
Okay.
under Public Works.
So he got 8, how many supervised?
7 or 8.
7, 8, okay.
While we're on that, I got I won't say a phone call because they talked to me individually. Some people at the convenience centers, I guess, wanted to know if their pay was going up.
The board had to approve last month, adjustments to bring everybody up to the minimum, with the increase to $12. And so we had I want to say out of 18 positions, 17 of them were part-time, solid waste positions, but everybody got thrown.
What about the minimum wage?
Yes, sir.
That's correct. Which I said I'd bring it up and I just let you know that they were asking. I said that's state law, so that's the way it is, but they were concerned.
No, I can tell you, you might see a request from me to bump on a little bit more next year, just because it's hard, you know. Folks at McDonald's are making more than those guys. We appreciate them for all they do. But we're demanding more from them on the site, so.
I was gonna say, go ahead, Harris, sorry.
The Christmas dinner, I got to sit with several of them, and one thing that was voiced to me was that not all of the convenience jobs, landfill jobs, have equal responsibilities, especially the guys running the weigh stations. There's more paperwork involved, so maybe looking at a raise for the ones working the weigh stations might be something we want to look into.
They may not be aware, they may be making more than some others, but we can certainly
Maybe,
look
yeah,
at that.
something.
Yeah.
But you're correct in two things that we very much appreciate them, but I guess I don't know how to even say it except for the fact that every time you go there, depending on who's there, depending on what kind of service you get or whatever else. And the question that I've gotten from some citizens lately is why in the world do they have the opportunity to be there, sitting in there, and there's trash up and down the road? And I said, I will bring that up because I guess that's
Shouldn't
actually
be.
Jeff's responsibility in one sense, but ours in the same, that at least,
Just general sites, I get
I mean, every site you go to, I don't care which prospect, everyone you go to, there's trash everywhere when they're sitting in there. There's no reason at all that they couldn't walk from Hard Times back up. Just, I'm using that one as an example. Pick up the trash once a day, an hour before they leave, and it's picked up for the next day. The same thing at Darlington Heights, which is where I was today. And there's stuff from Darlington Heights Road all the way in there, and they're just sitting in there in night where it's nice and warm, and nothing wrong with that if there's nothing to do, but there's something to do. That's the reason why we're paying them. So that's a.
Talked about today, we're gonna schedule a meeting with Randy and Jeff, because there's also some, physical site improvements that need to be made that
That was the second thing that was brought up when, I guess it's been 2 years ago or 3 years ago. The grading and the post at Darlington Heights is still broken or bent or whatever, so that gate doesn't halfway close. The one at Prospect has been that way for going on 4 years, and as a matter of fact, it's not even a fence up there, which is actually puts the county in liability because it's required by our ordinance to have it, and it's not there. And you go to all these other sites, and they're the same way.
Well, as you know, we're taking them one at a time this year, and the bids are due this Wednesday for Rice tomorrow. So we'll see where the bids come in. The plan is to roll the Worsham the next year, start the planning for that one. I would say, like, if you go out, what day we had our site visit out of Rice with the contractor, that place was picked up and spotless.
They look good.
We've got some site attendants who take very much pride in how their, the aesthetics of their facilities. So it's something we're trying to instill in everybody. Just we're not there from a uniformity standpoint. Supervisor Jones just mentioned about a second compactor at Rice. As Bill knows, that is in the plans.
It's in the plan.
For the new one, whether we have it there day one or not, but when it's constructed, it'll be constructed with utilities and everything in the ground ready for a second compactor, which will allow for us to, when one fills up before it gets dumped, to be able to flip the traffic over to the other one. Zero's in there making those, but, yeah.
Well, if those people do their job, there's no reason to go to those sites and there's 400 boxes of cardboard in the trash bin, and the cardboard is empty. In the same token, when I went there the other day, the trash bin was completely full of metal, and the metal bin was completely full of trash. Well, that says that the person that's working there is not doing their job.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. If y'all want to send them to me, I'm on the properties committee, I'll be glad to talk to them, because they're getting paid. My tax dollar, it's your tax dollar, it's you all's tax dollar.
And we would ask, especially if board members go and perhaps the individuals that are working there don't know you. You go in and you're just a citizen and you share with us what your experience was so that we can follow up on if you have suggestions about what your experience. And the same would be true for citizens.
Citizens, that's exactly right.
You visit a site and
Good or bad.
Yeah,
yes,
good or bad,
your
that's right, that's
experience was not what you expected it to be. Maybe for those of you who live in town that might be a little more anonymous, if you decide you want to take your trash somewhere one day and just experience a convenience center and share that visit with us, that helps us with.
It
like
does, it
Joel
helps,
said earlier,
correct.
Understanding what people are experiencing.
And
Because
Sarah, I
when-
think that would
when
be
we pull in, they know who we are most of the
Exactly.
time, not
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
That would be excellent.
Thought would be to make a checklist and have them go through that checklist once a week and turn it in. Did you?
And I will tell you, they have checklists,
They
they
do.
have what their job duties are, they have, they have phone numbers to call when they need things, and it's all there, it's just a matter of having it utilized.
Another thought, they're getting paid to work inside that fence. If we send them outside of that fence on the public road, Jerry, that could be an issue, Terry? If somebody was to get hit,
Well,
If they get hit either way, I think the question, if we put them on the road, we better make sure they have a safety.
safety equipment.
well, at Darlington Heights and at, I want to say Prospect, whatever you want to call it, I guess, the main landfill, that's all county-owned property to
Right.
begin with, so they're on county-owned from the
Right.
corner up, so that's, they're getting paid to work on county property.
What we paying them, $11 an hour?
12.
Whatever the trash people, like if dumps closed, they throw the trash in the field across from there, in the woods. Who's responsible for getting that up? Like if if the dump's closed.
Ask that gentleman right back there, he can explain that.
And they throw it, they put it over here, they dump tires in the pile right there, and the landlord didn't do it, cause, who's supposed to get the tires and stuff up?
I think the short answer They'll just drag it out in the highway, we'll call it.
That's right. Call VDOT.
Call Scott.
Waiting on the snow, we get them go sleigh riding, I think.
No, we handle that from time to time.
Okay.
We know it belongs to us, quote unquote. Our staff will try to take care of it. I know we had that one instance right there, right across the
That's how
street.
you,
We try to deal with it, and a lot of times they'll dump bags when days were closed right in front of the gate, and our staff has to deal with it. So it's one of the other things too, is we modernize and upgrade the facilities, like Rice,
Yeah,
cameras,
yeah.
and the ability for us to monitor, the facilities and try to cut down on some of that.
So if-
We appreciate the sheriff's staff, I know they'll report a
So,
lot of times when
excuse-
stuff happens.
if I go down and get it up, ain't gonna be no problem. Like if I go down myself and get that up, ain't gonna get no charge or nothing.
Now, you give us a call.
I don't.
The
I take care.
thing that all of us as citizens.
I don't wanna get a charge down there.
The thing that all of us as citizens need to do, and I think that the sheriff will agree, because he and I've had this conversation, is that we need to talk to the judges, because it doesn't make any difference it evidently doesn't make any difference what the law, what the ordinance, or whatever else is. If the judge doesn't prosecute, it does no good for them to bring it there, because they're wasting their time, our money, and everything else. So, talk to the judges if you know them, the Commonwealth Attorney, whoever, and just say, hey, this seems to be an ongoing problem, can we get a little more teeth in the game? Is that right, Sheriff?
My saying was, my vehicle runs to the toll booth, and I'm sitting at home watching a football game, I gotta pay a ticket. So if my bag of trash ends up on the side of the road somewhere, either I go back to the road and I have to pay a fine. That's how I feel. I don't know if it's something the county can work on, maybe an ordinance or something like that. Get in your pocketbook, that's what it's gonna take.
That's actually what the state law is. It's your trash, no matter what. Doesn't matter who you pay to get it or whatever else. If it doesn't get to the place where it goes, it's still yours. You're responsible, but that's not the way the judges see it.
Well, it's not the judges, I mean, I talked to the common attorney, unless you see them throw the trash out, then you can't charge. That's why I say, why not go civil? If their name's on it, it's their trash, they should have to pay.
That's something we need to look at, I guess, on the ordinance side.
I picked up over 200 bags in 1 year, me and my boys. 200 bags, we took 50.
Bad for you, too. I mean, that's the same.
Because I stuck my foot in my mouth when I was running for sheriff and said, I'm gonna clean this county.
Keep up the good work.
We thank you, Sheriff.
But we do need to talk to the legal side, because that's where the issue, it doesn't, I know for a fact, because Sheriff I own property literally across from the landfill, and I picked up 33 bags not long ago myself, and it gets aggravating when you can't get anything done about it, so something we need to look at one way or another.
I will make a comment of praise. I've got a neighbor that every morning he takes his morning walk and takes his bag with him in his little squeeze pickup, and he goes all the way to Bethpage Church and back every day. He doesn't want to see the trash there. Yep. Let's see.
Nominate him for something, we'll all stand behind him in a picture. Nominate him for an award, let's go.
True. Bring him in. Let's see here. Next thing, Finance and Human Resource Report. Cheryl, please.
Good evening again, Board. A couple of items for you tonight. The first is a insurance recovery from our insurance company. We received $247.38 for a vehicle accident, and there was a additional amount that we had needed, and we're asking to put that back to motor vehicle repair.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion been seconded. David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Dr. Fry?
Yes.
Patty Cooper?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
And my vote is yes.
Second item for your interest today is technology trust funds. The clerk of the circuit court has requested $4,547.60 from the state compensation board as reimbursement from the technology trust fund that has been collected in Prince Edward County. The funds will be used to pay for records management, maintenance, and secured remote access systems. And this is an every year occurrence.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion been seconded. David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Patty Cooper Jones?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
And my vote is yes.
And the last item for you is, since the closure of Madeline's house, steps has been asked by the State Domestic Violence Hotline to assist victims. They have agreed to provide transportation and temporary hotel sheltering until the state finds a shelter bed. Steps is currently utilizing their existing homeless services funds to provide assistance, but their current fiscal year of shelter funds will be exhausted by late February. We are asking the board to appropriate the unspent $4,800 previously budgeted to Madeline's house to Steps to assist with domestic violence victim services.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion been seconded. Bill?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
All right, and I vote yes too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Had to catch my breath, I'm sorry. All right, Terry, your report, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Anyway, I guess two items I'd like to discuss tonight. One is we have the sale of the Scope building on Griffin Boulevard. Hopefully, we'll close that within a week or two. And anyway, working on that and trying to get that closed. The other item is we've been working on a sewer and drainage easement with Lowe's, with their legal counsel in Mooresville, and going back and forth, and I think that we're very close. Also, the town has part input in that as well. Anyway, we're getting closer. A lot of things that they made changes, and then they came back and said they'd go ahead with our initial offer, but they've also got some red lines in there that we need to evaluate. So anyway, we've been working on it quite some time, but hopefully we'll get that situated. Anyway, I don't have any other major known cases that I know about today that could change tomorrow. But anyway, anybody have any questions, concerns, anything?
Will that dealing with them affect our road opening to the land beside the new highway department?
No, it's more the fact that the drainage has been there and the sewer has been there, but there weren't any easements in place. So, when Lowe's was put in there, so just trying to get the legal straightened up. So anyway,
Anything else for Terry?
thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, Doug, your county report, please.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, first, on behalf of the staff, I want to thank Dr. Pride for her leadership over the past year. I think everybody saw the list of accomplishments our team as a whole were able to accomplish last year. It's pretty significant, so thank you again for your
Yes, sir.
And congratulations to both Bill and Patty and your coming here.
Thank you, Doug.
Our tax deadline, the December 5th tax deadline, and the January 5th penalty and interest deadlines have passed. As of today, we've collected about 88.2% of real estate, and about 76.79% of personal property for the year. That's pretty much in line with where we have been in past years. We'll keep an eye on that. Our Rice Convenience site, as I mentioned earlier, we had a non-mandatory pre-bid conference earlier the day of our Christmas luncheon. We had a total of 4 contractors show up at the site with anticipation of bidding. Based on comments made at the site, we did make some minor plan revisions and issued an addendum to the project. The project bid deadline is tomorrow, so my Friday report, I'll let you know. Hopefully we'll get at least 2 or 3 bids to keep everybody honest. General property project updates. Committee's getting quotes on repairing or replacing backflow prevention devices in the courthouse and the ag building. We started flooring installation in the hallway of the basement this week. If you might remember, the property committee might remember, when the courthouse was renovated, the placement of the flooring downstairs was removed as a project that sorely needed, particularly in our health clinic. Really, it's going to make a big difference. So we're excited about getting started with that project. The sheriff and magistrate's exterior doors, one on either side of the courthouse. So we're replacing those old worn doors with new metal doors, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. We finished replacement of garage doors at the county shop. The courthouse cupola painting is scheduled for late February, early March, weather dependent. And we're waiting on parts to have 2 drives replaced in the HVAC units here at the courthouse. Our school transportation study group, as noted at the board's December 13th meeting, VDOT will be putting together a transportation committee to look at the access issues along Zion Hill Road. Dr. Pride last month appointed Harrison to be on the committee for the board. He'll join Sheriff Epps and myself on that committee, and I know Scott Frederick is hopefully by the end of this month, we'll send an email out trying to set stuff up. 2023 General Assembly session, Delegate Evans submitted bills for our 1% sales tax. That's House Bill 1605, if you want to track that. And our solid waste fee bill is House Bill 154. So both of those we'll be tracking each week. Mary E. Branch, the project was not selected for grant funding from the Industrial Revitalization Fund grant awards. Although disappointing, we've already found a couple of additional opportunities that we'll be looking at applying through Witton Town through the CRC. Five Pillars meets. Chelsea White and I attended the meeting of the Southern Virginia Committee of the Tobacco Commission on January 4th in Richmond to support the $75,000 grant application for the project. The committee unanimously approved the recommendation to grant the full award, and then the board at its meeting on January 5th approved that. So looks like that'll be matched by $100,000 from BDP. So hopefully at the end of the day, with our $25,000 in enterprise and incentives, that project will get $200,000. That's fantastic. So move along. Last thing, one of the things the board tasked staff is to review the county code. Planning Commission next week will consider some amendments to the county zoning ordinance. After review by staff based on the schedule, the board would see the amendments for potentially for a public hearing in March this year. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Unless there are any questions.
I'd say job well done on the Christmas luncheon. It was a great event, and the people that worked for the county had a great time. They thought it was an awesome idea. And food was good. People were fired up to get the awards they got, especially the ones that had a little monetary value to it. And it made for the Christmas spirit to pop, let me tell you.
You know, the first year we did it, we had a lot of people catching up. So hopefully next year we'll have probably about only a fifth of the number of names to call. So it'll be a little faster, but it was well received. So thanks for that.
Let's see. Correspondence, we had, what, one letter, Doug?
Yes, sir. A letter referencing potentially twice a year, I think, billing for personal property.
We had.
It was actually to be once a year in June.
Oh, once a year, sorry, once a year.
Thinking that the tax refunds could help fund it, which makes a lot of sense.
We had a little brief conversation one time about moving the tax deadline a little bit, get it back away from Christmas. Is that?
Well, I'll say this, if we're struggling to meet the current timeline, almost moving it up.
Might
helps.
help it in that.
Yeah. June 5th is the default date by the Code of Virginia, and I think, the difference is most have gone to that twice a year. And I think, I'd say this, I certainly wouldn't want to recommend it, but I'm going to recommend it once we get our house in order, which I hope within a year we can say we're there. But certainly splitting it up so it doesn't hit all at Christmas time would be benefiting, as Mr. Watson said, and hitting when people get their tax refunds, that helps a little bit as well.
And that's what this lady, Emma Webb, said in her email. You know, I think that no rule or law or policy is any good if you can't execute it. You know, I mean, obviously work toward it, but if there's no point in trying to do it if we don't think we can pull it off.
Got our monthly reports there on 32, have to answer any questions there, updates from animal control building official, cannery, CRC, and tourism. And then we had one table back item, Mr. Chair. 33.
And Sandy River Reservoir. Doug, if you want to go ahead with that.
Yes, sir. So, December 9th, 2021, the board accepted the unsolicited proposal of Prince William County Infrastructure LLC for design and construction of a water system serving the county. The board made a determination to use competitive negotiation in selecting a contractor to authorize the county administrator to post the non-confidential portion for the proposal and advertise for the receipt of competing proposals for a period not less than 45 days. The county received no competing proposals. The August 23rd board meeting, the board accepted an interim agreement with PDCI for the development, design, and construction of a water treatment plant distribution system consistent with the design board's proposal and the county's guidelines and procedures concerning the public, private education, facilities, and infrastructure act of 2002 as adopted by the board July 8 of 2008. The county's consulting team are currently reviewing the engineering review negotiation of the comprehensive price proposal of the 15% design documents. The board tonight approved the engineering proposal for that. We are anticipating that we'll be in a position to recommend moving forward with the final agreement in the coming months. At this point, we're trying to position the county to be able to move forward with the project to meet the Department of General Services timeline for construction. To do so, the county will need to secure funding this year to start construction of the project. The Virginia Resource Authority represents the most strategic funding source for the county for the project. VRA typically sells bonds either between 2 to 3 times per year. It's definitely spring and fall, and sometimes they'll do a summer sale. The deadline for participation in the spring sale is February 2nd. The summer is May 1st. So to continue exploring our financial options, it's requested the board authorize the county administrator to submit an application to the Virginia Resource Authority spring, or summer bond pool, depending on what our financial advisors recommend, based on preliminary project numbers provided by Prince Edward County Infrastructure LLC, the estimated amount of $55 million. And final numbers will fluctuate based on what is ultimately included in the project and final pricing. Final determination of which pools to submit to will need to be based on where we are with the decision process. The request is merely to submit an application whose deadline is February 3rd or May 1st. Before any obligation is incurred, the board would have to vote to authorize issuance of the debt. Funds to repay any debt would be derived from water revenue and taxpayer-funded support. This action enables the county and the project team to continue to explore all options. VRA provides financing to local governments for essential projects. All VRA projects are eligible for financing the Virginia Pool Financing Program. Since its inception, VRA has funded more than 2,000 critical projects across the Commonwealth, exceeding $10 billion in investments in Virginia communities. I have this cover sheet was reviewed by Jimmy Sanderson Davenport, who's our financial advisor. This just gives us the ability to kind of get in the queue and line, and then probably in 2 or 3 months, when the decision-making time comes, we'll have our revised numbers for the board to make an educated decision about it. But if I don't put in before February 3rd, we're not in potential for this.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a Motion been seconded. David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Dr. Fry?
Yes.
Pat Cooper?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. So moved, so carried. Guess that brings us to the end of the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion been seconded. Before we vote on it, I want to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity. And thank Patty for being vice chair and Odessa for being a wonderful leader for a year. And all of the other board members that are in place. Glad to work with you this year. We'll have a roll call vote for adjournment. Bill?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Dr. Fry?
Yes.
And mine, yes. Do I whack the math?
Very good, dude.